I'm standing in Broad Street, and it's the day after I made the video where I went from Headington to Shotover Hill and back through Cowley. I'm standing in Broad Street and I'm looking at Exeter College, which goes all the way along and also has an entrance on Turl Street round the corner. If you saw my Insignia video, you'll know that this year the procession came out of Exeter before going to the Sheldonian. But that's not the only thing to come out of the college. And today I'm going to talk about a comparatively unsung hero of Exeter, though when I tell you his name you may think you recognise it from somewhere. And in his honour I'm going to walk to Old Marston, which is a village about a mile north of here, which was quite isolated from North Oxford until a bridge was built. So that's Exeter again, and I need to decide where I'm going to walk, and I need to tell you who I'm talking about. And the person I'm talking about was called Jack Russell. And if you know dogs, you'll recognise that name, because there's a type of dog called a Jack Russell Terrier. And there are various accounts of what Jack Russell did, but they tend to agree he was an undergraduate at Exeter, and he liked hunting foxes, and he had horses, or at least he had access to horses. I don't know whether he owned his own, but I think the colleges would in those days have had stables, horses being such an important mode of transport then. And by those days I mean the early 18s. Some accounts that I've read say that he had the idea for the Jack Russell in 1815, others that he had it in 1819, but sort of 1815 to 1820 it seems that he originated the Jack Russell Terrier. And like the slight disagreement in date, there are slight disagreements about why he invented the terrier, but generally it was to help with hunting. He may have wanted a dog that was a different colour from a fox, so that it could be more easily distinguished. And one account says that therefore he went for a dog that was mainly white. He may have wanted a dog, he almost certainly wanted a dog that could get into a fox's earth and drag it out, which is a pretty horrible thing to think about, but then hunting was, and people were like that. And that meant having a dog that had the temperament to go after foxes and not too much mind being attacked, that had the physical strength to grab foxes and pull them out, and that had the flexibility to work its way through small holes, small tunnels, what dog fanciers call a flexible conformation. And that had the stamina to carry on doing this for a long time while the fox was fighting back. So, in summary, he may have wanted a white dog that was easily distinguished from a brown fox. He may have wanted a dog that had the stamina to fight foxes for a long time, that had the strength to pull them out, and that had the flexibility to manoeuvre underground. And he may also have wanted a dog that, while being aggressive enough to do this, wasn't so aggressive that it was unhandleable. So it needed a mellow sort of aggressive temperament, if that's not a contradiction. Anyway, the stories go on. Jack Russell happened to meet or see a milkman in this year of 1815 or 1819 or whatever, and he saw the milkman while he was at Exeter College, and the milkman had a dog which Jack Russell reckoned would be ideal for what he wanted, so he bought it. The dog, by the way, was called Trump, which is a much more recognisable name now than it was then. So Jack Russell bought a dog called Trump from a milkman and proceeded to breed Jack Russells. And that's a very rough overview, and I don't know whether we'll ever know the exact details. Apparently the Jack Russell is not I'm not sure how to put this, it's not a pure breed in the way that dogs like Labradors or the various types of retrievers are. And in fact, Jack Russell also had a hand in founding the Kennel Club, which is the body in the UK that sets standards for dog breeds, sets the rules for dog shows and so on. And he actually didn't want the terrier to be recognised by the Kennel Club because he was less concerned about pernickety details of what it looked like and how it behaved, and more with just it being a good working dog for hunting. And what's the Marston connection? It seems that the milkman was from either Marston or Elsfield, which is a village near Marston, and that, by the way, one can easily walk to from it. So Jack Russell bought a dog called Trump from a milkman who he met in Exeter College, probably, though he might have met him in Marston or Elsfield. He bought this dog called Trump and proceeded to make it the first of a line of Jack Russell Terriers. Stories then differ on how much ancestry current-day Jack Russells have of the dog Trump that Jack Russell had. The American Jack Russell Society or Club or whatever it is seems to think that there's a straight line of descent. Other articles say that it's very unlikely. For example, Jack Russell didn't have much money and he couldn't hang on to his dogs, so most of the breeding would have been done by other people. But anyway, he's an Oxford figure to be commemorated, and he was an undergraduate here. He would have gone to Marston on occasion, I'm sure, and so I'm going to try to follow the way he might have gone, remembering that there was at least one less bridge then. Now, if he'd been operating today, he would have walked straight up to North Oxford, turned right, gone down the Marston Ferry Road, and crossed the bridge to Old Marston. But the bridge was only built in the middle of the 20th century. And before that, Marston was completely cut off from North Oxford. So what I think Jack Russell would have done, or could have done, is to cross the Cherwell at Magdalen Bridge, get to the other side of it, and then walk north. I should say, by the way, I'm probably jumping about a bit here. The Thames is not the only river that defines the Oxford waterscape. Further east, there is also a river called the Cherwell. You've seen it without possibly knowing what it was when I crossed the Rainbow Bridge in the university parks. I think one of my videos showed some people punting on it. And it comes as far down as here, and indeed a lot further. And we cross it when we go over Magdalen Bridge on the High Street, which I'm going to do now. It's a nice day, it's a busy day, and this is also an opportunity for you to look at all the tourists. The Oxford University Press has trademarked the name Oxford and produces, or used to produce, books with titles such as the Oxford Book of Dinky Toys or the Oxford Book of Inexpensive Beers. I'm making these up, but that's the general pattern. And I did once think of writing and publishing a book called the Oxford Book of Tourists, where one would hang around the city for a week or so, take pictures and select the most interesting, sort of like bird watching. A novel set in Cambridge that I once read started off with the protagonist walking through the streets of her city and talked about the champion tank-like mentality that one needs one's way to bulldoze through the tourists. And it's exactly the same here. This is Holywell Street, and I'm sure now most of the houses are used by colleges. This is New College.
Crossing the road, get off the road.
I think this is the first Japanese restaurant to open in Oxford. Many years before the one that I showed the other day, showed the florists decorating the outside of. Coming to the end of Holywell Street now and turning right into Longwall Street, which will take me down to the High Street. The nature of the traffic system now is that this is blocked to traffic. So traffic coming in from the plain, coming in from beyond the end of the High Street, has to turn off and turn up Longwall Street and then work its way round the University Science area, and similarly for stuff coming in the other direction. This is Magdalen College. been cloudy up to now, but it's just come out. It's really nice and warm. Magdalen. That's Magdalen College Tower. University Botanic Gardens on the other side. This is one of the most iconic sites of Oxford. Anybody who's lived here for any length of time would recognise it.
At the back.
Just putting my mask on because the crowds are very heavy.
No,
Now this is a bit of an awkward angle to get much sense of what the Cherwell is doing. But it's basically split into two substreams. One going under one part of the bridge and one going under another. And each of the substreams has has 3 arches devoted to it, 3 bridge arches. And then one of the substreams itself splits north, I think, rather than south of the bridge. So you've got a sort of Y and Y set up. And I think the streams split again and get pretty complicated around the parks. That is part of the Cherwell. People tend not to talk about the Cherwell in the same way as the Thames. The Thames used to be used for transport. I don't suppose it is much more, other than things like the river cruises. I don't know whether the Cherwell was ever big enough or important enough for that. I still think of the Thames as the sort of river that deserves to have a navigation channel. A bit of it specially devoted to boats and ships. And I don't think of the Cherwell in the same way. The Cherwell is a pleasure river that you can punt on. Only with great care, because if you don't use great care, you'll swallow some of the water and then catch something horrible from the rats that swim in it. So I've now crossed the Cherwell and I'm over its east bank and I'm heading east. And what I'm now going to do is to loop round to Old Marston, going north now that I'm over the bank. And this really is a horrible street today. Something massive is pumping out petrol fumes like mad and it stinks. Big Dave's pub quiz every Thursday. Book now. I'm going in the other direction that I did on the video where I came back from Headington. I'm going out of Oxford. There is a definite air of dereliction around here. I don't know when it was that somebody last lived in these places. That's the Port Mahon that I mentioned once, one of the nice old buildings that's here. Actually, I've just realised I've got a bit of an architectural treat for the connoisseur, and that's fusion Islamic and Oxford College architecture coming up fairly soon. It must be ghastly living in these places with all the traffic noise and the fumes. Nice garden though. That is Headington Hill to the right, straight on. I'm not going up there today, I'm going to turn left.
हाँ तो बराबर है मैं तो ये week.
That is part of Headington Hill Park, which is a park on the left as I go up the hill. That is the Oxford University Islamic Studies Centre, and they really, really do not like visitors. That path goes back through the university parks to the science area. It takes about 30 minutes, I think. And you find yourself bounded on each side by streams of the Cherwell. This is the road that I cross from the parks when I go through Harberton Mead or other routes to Cuckoo Lane in Headington. That's Williams Road. You can go up to the top, and then there are some garages. If you jog round them and to the right, you come to a wood, and you can then go up through that, and you come out onto Pullen's Lane, and then to Cuckoo Lane again. That is Ferry Road, which is one of the two nearest roads that goes down to the parks. And this is also the start of what we now call New Marston. Old Marston being the original Marston village, and New Marston being estates that were built in the, I suppose, starting around about the 20s or 30s in the last century. Returning to a somewhat distasteful subject, I looked at various web pages to find out about the abilities and intended abilities of Jack Russell's. One of them was by an American Jack Russell Society, and I'm pretty sure it pointed out that in America, Jack Russells are used to hunt raccoons and woodchucks. I don't know whether you actually have foxes in America, and I don't know why you'd want to fight or hunt raccoons and woodchucks. As far as I know, they're not regarded as good to eat. And raccoons have always seemed rather sweet to me. I think most of the raccoons I've seen have been Disney cartoons, and they don't look like things you really want to kill. And woodchucks, the only thing I know about woodchucks is how many woodchucks would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood, which hardly seems an adequate base for hunting the things. Okay, I'm now about halfway up the road, maybe a bit nearer to Old Marston, the original Marston village. That's Jack Straw's Lane, and that is the furthest road north that takes you to Cuckoo Lane. Now this is called Old Marston Road because if I go left and then follow the turn, I'll come to Old Marston. Sometimes I do that, but to make matters clear today, I'll take a slightly longer and squarer route. So I'm now coming to a row of shops that I think could well be in buildings dating from the 30s. And they're on a road, this part of which is called Cherwell Drive. Again, the name of that river. Forget the shops here, which never seem to last very long. So this is the Marston Road that I'm coming off. And this is Cherwell Drive. Anywhere you go, getting to Headington involves raising yourself in one way or another. And if you go this way, the slope is here. So that road continues straight down and eventually hits the main Headington road, and then if you turn left, you go into Headington. I'm not going to do that, though I do sometimes. I'm going to go left here. Looks as though it's school letting out time. I'm now going to cross Cherwell Drive. Now, I've been here before, though you may not recognise it. That's a path into St Nicholas School over there, and I came to that by going out of the parks over the Rainbow Bridge and turning left and then going on north. That is Marston Ferry Road, and there's a bridge about halfway up it which was opened in 1971, The road continues over the bridge to Summertown, Banbury Road, and until that bridge was opened, there was no link between Summertown and Cherwell Drive, so you couldn't get from the other end of Marston Ferry Road to here unless you had a handy ferry or you were very good at swimming. And I may be completely wrong, but I think that if Jack Russell had come from Exeter and decided to walk to Marston to meet the milkman who sold him the dog Trump, he would have had to do what I did, which is to cross the Cherwell at Magdalen Bridge and then go away north on the other side. But don't take that as gospel. I may have missed something very obvious. This is Old Marston then. This is the original Marston village, and its name derives from the word marsh. If you walk up through Old Marston, you'll eventually come to the northern bit of the ring road, the northern bypass, and that continues to beyond Summertown on the left and to the end of Headington on the right, swinging round in a quarter circle. Now, I'm not going to do much of Old Marston today. I'll leave that until I have more time. But I'll just try and point out a few things. Marston used to have seven pubs. And they've almost all gone, sadly, but it looks as though the Red Lion is still there, which is a nice thing to know. It has a library, little library there, Old Marston Library. It has a church, St Nicholas Church, and as a presumably devout practicing Christian, well, I say presumably, he actually was practicing. Jack Russell is variously described as a reverend or a parson. And by the way, there's a breed of terrier called a parson's terrier, which must be related to this. So Jack Russell was certainly a Christian, and I suppose he might have attended services in Old Marston Church on occasion, unless there were denominational reasons for not doing so. In which case, he might well have continued up here to the church. Once upon a time, I'm fairly sure that was a village store, or possibly that was a village store, but no longer, sadly. And that used to be a pub. I've drunk in it, but again, no longer. That used to be a pub too. Note the support for the sign. Okay, I said that there seems to be some disagreement about whether the milkman came from Marston or Elsfield. Elsfield is a nearby village, and that road is Elsfield Road, and it sort of leads to it, but I think you have to cross a very busy road, possibly even the ring road itself, to get there, which is a real pain. I have done it, but most of the, if not all of the routes are now impossible, because either there's a bypass in the way, or footpaths that led to bits you can walk haven't been kept up and are completely overgrown. Anyway, there are two more things I wanted to say. The church, St Nicholas Church, is there on the right, and I'll look at that another time. And if you go straight up there, you'll come to quite a wide driveway going off to the left, and that leads to a pub called the Victoria Arms, popularly known as the Vicky Arms. That's on the river. It's on the river that you used to have to take the ferry over. And it's a very popular place because not only can you drive there, or walk or cycle, you can punt. A lot of people punt up the Cherwell for recreation, and then stop at the Victoria Arms. The important thing is not to drink too much, because otherwise you lose your coordination on the way back and you find yourself clinging to a punt pole stuck in the mud while your punt is 10 feet away from you and unreachable. And that's not a naturally tenable situation. Okay, well, this then is Marston, where Jack Russell's milkman may have been, and where Trump may have come from. And there's one other Jack Russell related landmark that I want to show you, and I'm going to go back and do that now. That's why I didn't go any further into Old Marston. Incidentally, Old Marston is one of those villages that have been absorbed into Oxford City. So it only has a sort of rather tenuous identity. One thing about this absorption that I read is that it became necessary to change street names, because most villages have a church street and a high street and maybe things like a pond street. And when they were absorbed into Oxford City, you started getting name clashes. So it was necessary to rename those streets. So there's a street in Summertown, I think it might be Hobson Street, which used to have one of those names, and that's been renamed. Yesterday, when I was wandering around Shotover, I used the analogy of mitochondria living in our cells, little organisms that used to be free-living and independent, but have now gone into symbiosis with the thing they're living in. And I sort of think of this in the same way. The villages have given up something, but I suppose they've gained something too, otherwise why do it? Now I'm coming out of Marston back onto Cherwell Drive with St Nicholas School ahead and to the right, and I'm going to cross Cherwell Drive now. So once more, that's the Marston Ferry Road off to Summertown. And that is St Nicholas Primary School. And I hope this is Raymond with a U, Raymond Road. I can't see a road sign, or a road name. Good. And then this is Arlington Drive, which is what I want. And it goes in a sort of U shape around the outside of this part of the estate. They have got quite a nice curve to the arrangement of houses. And I'm going to hit another road on the left in a minute, which is what I want. And what I want is Salford Road, which is here. There was probably a quicker way of getting to it, but I was able to recognise this one. And let's just have a look at the corner.
You want some out of where you're going?
Did that used to be the Jack Russell?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Yeah, the green building was the Jack Russell. Where are you trying to get to?
Oh, no.
I'm not trying to get to anywhere.
No, I'm doing a video about the Jack
okay.
Russell Terrier.
Yeah,
and I thought I'd like to...
Yeah, the flaps there up were the green, were the Jack Russell.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Right, so he's told me what I need to know. The building I'm looking for is just over there. And that's the green building he's talking about. So this used to be a pub called the Jack Russell, in honour of what I've been telling you so far. It was built, obviously this is part of the New Marston estate. The pub was built in 1963 and closed. I sort of remember it not going through changes of landlords, not quite making a go of it, gradually losing customers. Closed apparently in 2014 and recently demolished and obviously now recently built on. Which is rather a shame, I think. People here now have further to go if they want somewhere to meet. So that's the end of the Jack Russell, and that's and that's the end of a pub which commemorated the origins of the Jack Russell round here. I'm not saying, by the way, just to be clear, I'm not saying that Jack Russell ever visited a pub here. He couldn't have, because I think it was all farmland. I'm just saying that there was a pub that commemorated him and that is now gone. So I'm now just going to walk back to a part of Oxford that more people will recognise and then into the video. There's a few shops here, but nothing very much. Not really the most lively area. So I'm on Salford Road. So that's the other end of Salford Road. I've now come into Cavendish Drive. And Raymond Road, which I came down to from the school, is over there. So I want to go broadly in that direction. And now I'm on the Oxford Road that I mentioned. So Marston Road is over behind those houses. I notice there's a sign, "Welcome to Old Marston" here. I didn't realise the boundary was quite so far round. I think that might be modern. Old Marston Road. Or maybe the original boundary was there then, because the road name changes from Old Marston Road to Oxford Road, which often happens when you leave a village. On the other hand, somebody could have rejigged the road names. And now I'm on an easy to recognise bit of landscape. And this is the way I came up. So that again is Jack Straw's lane. That's the furthest road north that will take you into Cuckoo Lane. Buses along there go down to St Clement's. That is Harberton Mead. Goes up to the wooded area with all the big posh houses in that I did in one of my early walks. And that is one of the roads down to the parks, Edgway Road. And that is the first road down to the parks, Ferry Road. Note that name again. And that's the shop that I pointed out. So I'm running out of battery and I'll stop here. See you next time.